All right, so in Chapter 2, we're going to start off with a few review sections. So our first one's going to be about order of operations. So we're going to talk first about what our order of operations is. The reason we have order of operations is so that everyone gets the same answer because we're all doing it the correct or the same order. So these would be those Facebook problems that you see show up online, where it's like, what answer do you get? And it gives you your different options, or it gives the problem and it asks people to fill it out and to figure it out, and then everyone starts arguing. Well, here are your proper order of operations. And you're going to hear me call it order of operations, and I'm not going to use the acronym PEMDAS, and the reason is that's what gets people in trouble. So our order of operations starts with our parentheses, and really, when we're talking parentheses, this is anything that groups. So it could be parentheses, it could be a fraction bar, because a fraction bar will end up grouping everything within the numerator together and everything within the denominator together. So we have our grouping symbols, which is most often parentheses. After parentheses, then we go to exponents. And so for an example of an exponent, that would be like 4 to the third power. Anything with that small number up above. Remember that means that is 4 times 4 times 4. Just a reminder on that one. That exponent means repeated multiplication. Step 3, and this is what normally gets everyone, is that it's multiply and divide from left to right. Or multiply or divide from left to right. So you would look, you'd start at the left and you would do whatever came first, whether it was multiply or divide. They are equal in stature, so they happen along the same step. And we just move those from left to right. And then step 4, and it's the same thing here, add and or subtract from left to right. So we start with our grouping. We then move to exponents. After grouping and exponents are gone, then we look for any multiplication or division. We start from the left and we move to the right. And then after multiplication and division is out of our problem, then we go to the adding and subtracting. And again, from left to right. So here's our first example. So we've got to start with our grouping. Right now I have the parentheses showing me that grouping. So I'm going to do 6 minus 2. Which is 4. And so then I'm going to rewrite it. This is how I want to see your work. Original problem, and then I don't just want an answer. I want original problem, and then each little step that you take. So 6 minus 2 gave us 4. So this was our next step. 4 cubed divided by 2. And so then exponents is next. So 4 times 4 is 16. 16 times 4 is 64. Divide by 2. And then I'm going to take 64 and divide by 2. And so 64 divided by 2 is 32. And that is my final answer. Again, I want to see original problem, and then however you simplified with the rest of the original problem written out. Not just that this becomes 4 cubed, and then that 4 cubed is 64, and then you divide by 2. No. To keep these equal, notice how we have equal signs all the way down? The rest of the problem has to be written out. So this is how I want to see your homework work for 2.0a. I hope I am making myself clear. Alright, so here's example 2. This is an example where a fraction bar becomes our grouping symbol. So if it helps, you can put parentheses up on the top, because that's essentially what we're doing. So from here, within my grouping symbol, I have exponents. So before I can subtract, I have to evaluate the exponent. So 2 to the 4th power is 16, because 2 times 2 is 4, and 4 times 2 is 8, and 8 times 2 is 16. Now I'm going to subtract 1 and divide by 5. So again, rewriting the whole problem. And then I do what is left in my grouping symbol. So 16 minus 1 is 15, divide by 5. And then 15 divided by 5 equals 3. And so that is my final answer. Again, each step I write out. So I should not just have an original problem and an answer. I will not sign off on it. So here's example 3. I look at it, there are no grouping symbols. So then I go for my exponent, which is right here. So I'm going to rewrite 5 times 7 minus 4 squared is 16, divide by 2. And then after exponents becomes multiplication and division. So I see that 5 times 7 comes first. So I have 35 minus 16 divided by 2. And then as I go through, I see that I have that 16 divided by 2. So the 35 minus stays, and then 16 divided by 2 is 8. And then I can do the subtraction. So 35 minus 8, should be putting equals after or before each of these. 35 minus 8 equals 27. And there is our final answer. So again, use your order of operations. Grouping symbols, which could be parentheses or a fraction bar. Then your exponents. From your exponents, you do your multiplication and division from left to right. And then we do our subtraction. So that's your order of operations. Until next time.